A very good morning to one and all present. Today's webinar aims to bring together experts from the power and energy sector of Bangladesh on a virtual platform to provide their insights on the issues of the implications of declining costs of renewable energy technologies on regional power trade in South Asia region and explicitly deliberate on implications to Bangladesh. To begin with, we would like to invite Dr. Jyoti Parekh, the Executive Director of IRADE, to deliver the welcome address and introduce the project. Dr. Parekh has more than 50 years of experience in the field of energy, energy modeling, energy economics, environment, and problems of the developing countries. He is also a recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize awarded to IPCC authors in 2007. I'm pleased, ma'am.
Thank you, Jaslyn, and thank you all of you for joining us. Let me just, yeah. So I hope in COVID time you were all well during this time, and all power sector in your country is doing well. I welcome Mr. Mohammad Hussain, Mr. Simon Trace, Siddiqui Jobair, Aminul Haq, and Mr. Mohammad Shah Alam, Salima Jahan, and many other people who have joined us, especially, and I also welcome our colleagues from IRADE and ladies and gentlemen who have joined us. You know that IRADE is maybe I can now go to the PowerPoint, and Jaslyn, can you start?
I just start, just a minute.
So we have been doing this project on South Asia power trade for a long time. And many of you have also seen us in the South earlier also in the USAID project. But now we are doing a different version of it, which is supported by UKAID. And that's about implications of declining costs of solar, wind, and storage technologies in the regional power trade in South Asia. Next. So first of all, most of you know IRADE, but let me just quickly say, we are an advanced research institute and we work in 6 thematic areas. And IRADE has completed 18 years and we have been involved in decision supports, not only in India, but globally as well. 11 ministries in India, and we have done 110 plus large projects during this time. And it's also Center of Excellence for Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Next. So, as you know, already 3 gigawatt of power transfer is happening. But so far, we are looking at mainly hydro and coal-based power generation. And we have not yet got into these countries into big way into renewable energy so far, but the programs are in place. I just heard about in Bangladesh. India also, of course, has a much longer history and achievement is also started in India. And prices of solar have dropped by 74% during our work, which mainly so far looked at how hydro and coal together balance each other. And both solar and storage prices will change this scenario drastically in short or medium terms, definitely. So how will the logic of trade will change? How to redesign investment strategies is the issue that we are faced with. Next. So this is what we are trying to do in this project, that implications of regional hydro potential utilization and flexible hydro versus declining storage cost. Because if you remember earlier, and Nepal's hydro used to come during the, the summer season, and India used to support Nepal in winter, and Bangladesh of course has not that much seasonal dependence. But when you consider all 4 countries together, that all these things matter. So use of hydropower for balancing and greening the grid might undergo some changes, and capacity of transmission network maybe also little different. Capacity mix might change in the region, and fuel consumption by the power sector may be reduced, hopefully, and naturally that would lead to environmental benefits in terms of lower CO2 emissions. Yeah, next. So you might recall that already we are looking at 4 countries, how India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh can seamlessly trade power. That's a distant goal, but right now it is. There are certain investments along which this is moving, and we already had developed some models for Nepal, Bhutan. We did not do any model that is completely in this project, but Nepal, India, and Bangladesh were modeled in detail. Next. And so the new role of how hydro, which is so far used in a certain way, can change because of the solar, wind, and other renewables. That's an interesting topic. Cost of decline can quite be significant in terms of even structural changes in this system. Next. So we hope to have at the end of this project understanding of implications not only in terms of over the years, but during the day and during the different seasons, and the long-term hourly generation trade will undergo considerable change, and we would have the results for every 5 years. And impact of renewable and cost scenarios and uptake of renewable energy, and how much hydro can we absorb, because in some sense at some places hydro is in competition, and some places hydro and renewable are in complementarity. So capacity requirements may also change by technology. And we would be also interested in finding out how much fuel consumption can be saved, and so on. And of course, renewable energy of this type can increase energy access, and that's a very good distributive impact on the society that we could also see. So we have already Bangladesh model, and that is public.
Mute karen apni, please.
And yeah, this report we had just released in 2018 by Dr. Gohar Rizvi, advisor to the Prime Minister, International Affairs, Government of Bangladesh. And this is a subject that India and Bangladesh, it is at a very high level of Prime Ministers and Vice Chairman, Niti Aayog, and so on. So it is a subject that has not only impact on power sector, but the relations of the 2 countries as well. So I'm happy that we have got together here to look at our preliminary results, and especially verifying our assumptions and the manner in which we are going ahead. And we hope to seek your opinions and confirmations of certain assumptions and numbers we are using. And I hope that this will be a productive meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We would like to now invite Mr. Mohammad Hussain, Director General of PowerCell, to deliver the inaugural address. Mr. Hussain has more than 30 years of experience of serving the government of Bangladesh in different at diverse high-profile positions, sir. So we welcome you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaslin. Dr. Jyoti Parikh, Executive Director of IRADE. Mr. Simon Trace, Principal Consultant, Natural Resources and Energy, OPM Export. Professor Kirit Parikh, Chairman, IRADE. From Bangladesh, I can see Dr. Aminul Haq, my direct teacher, who is the now Vice Chancellor of Eastern University. My another senior colleague, Mr. Siddiq Jubair, was the Additional Secretary of Power Division and also member of SREDA. Mr. Shalom of BIDA, and Sri Pankaj Bhatta, my another good friend. We are in the same forum working for long. Distinguished guests, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you all. At the very outset, let me beg apology for being late. I was in fact trying to connect to the old link. Finally, I came to know that that was the old one. So I'm sorry for that. I think it's a very timely. I think the workshop is going to be held because now this solar, wind, and storage technologies are most talked issues because of the fact that this subject study has in fact titled the implications of declining cost of solar. If I want to even restrict to this one, because in Bangladesh, out of all the renewable potential, solar is the most potential one and proven potential. And you know that we have two major constraints for solar. One was the international one, the cost. Another one is our very domestic specific, country specific, which is the land itself. So the cost of this solar has declined drastically. And definitely the implication is that solar will definitely flourish now. Whenever we compare our generation costs of solar with conventional source, so it used to get less priority before. Now it is almost competitive, even sometimes even lower than other conventional sources. And we have also identified the innovative way of averting the land use, like floating solar, rooftop solar, solar irrigation. So definitely solar will flourish, and as our renewable policy, we have to have 10% of our generation mix from solar, from renewable. Unfortunately, it is still less than 5%. So even we want to reach to our target as a policy, we have to go a long way. In that case, definitely the study will help us to identify the implications, strategic way forward, move forward. Iraq has done good jobs before, like the policy interventions, regulatory interventions, technical interventions for cross-border trade in this subcontinent, particularly this BBIN countries. So now they have focused to these country-specific issues, and I believe that will definitely lead to regional issues, and it works as a building block for regional cooperation as far as this renewable energies are concerned. In fact, in Bangladesh, we have been thinking, as we cannot scale up our renewables, we were thinking to import some solar from India. So this is still in the consideration. So I think this will help us, and this half day long this dissemination of this study will enable us to know more on it, and I believe this IRADE will continue this effort for future. We want to see that in reality, this regional trade will happen very soon, particularly when the storage also cost of the storage has also come down. So unfortunately, I have, in spite of all the intention, to continue until the end of this discussion, but I have just at the same time I have another event where our minister and principal secretary there, so I'll join there after this. I hope that my very learned audience, particularly my colleagues from Bangladesh, they will interact and contribute to this study. If there is any fine tuning required, will come out of this discussion. And finally, thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to say something in this very august gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now we would like to invite Mr. Simon Trace, Principal Consultant with Oxford Policy Management, to deliver the special remarks. Mr. Trace has more than 35 years of experience. He has been working in international development and has specialization in access to basic energy services, natural resource management and technology. So we welcome you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Justine. As I said, my name is Simon Trace and I'm Principal Consultant at Oxford Policy Management. I'm also the Director of the UK aid-funded Applied Research Programme on Energy and Economic Growth, known as EEG for short. That programme looks at the interaction between large-scale grid-based power systems and economic growth, focusing especially on 4 areas, so increasing access to the grid, improving grid reliability, productive use of grid electricity, and then the challenges involved in incorporating large-scale renewables into the grid. We currently fund around 27 projects across Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, working academic institutions such as Berkeley, Yale, Oxford, University College London, and the University of Cape Town, as well as with internationally renowned think tanks such as IRADI. And we're very pleased to be able to support IRADI's research on the implications of declining costs of solar, wind, and storage on the power trade in South Asia. This sort of ties in with EEG's broader interests around the opportunities that cross-border power trade offer to link centres of high demand to areas with high renewable potential, and what that in turn can do to help decarbonise the power sector and better achieve climate goals. Cross-border trade clearly has additional benefits beyond decarbonisation by linking different generation sources with different characteristics together. It's possible to improve energy security and to better offer options to balance peak load demands. And a well-managed cross-border grid trade can also help better manage crises when they hit. And as an example of this, I'd highly recommend a recent report by IRADI that EEG has just published, which reviews how the BBIN countries' grids collectively managed to cope with the impacts of COVID on electricity demand and on grid operation. I guess in a region where there is considerable existing and future potential cross-border trade in hydroelectricity, clearly the declining costs of solar and wind and storage technologies will have a potentially significant impact on the economies of that trade. And as such, I'm sure that this research exercise by IRADI will provide important material for consideration by the region's energy planners as they consider the best options for expanding grid access, coping with growing industrial and commercial demand, and dealing with decarbonisation. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the presentations today on the Bangladesh electricity model and your valuable feedback and comments on it. And I'd just like to say once more my thanks to Dr. Parikh and to the IRADI team for asking me to say these few words at the start of this important webinar. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite one of my senior colleagues, Mr. Vinay Saini, Area Convener at IRADI, to present our work on Bangladesh electricity model. So if you could share your screen as well.
Is it visible and am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk about the Bangladesh electricity model results today. Just a minute. Yeah. So, as Dr. Jyoti Parekh has already explained that we have done a lot of studies for Bangladesh in the past, and one of the study is this in which we analyze the economic benefits of Bangladesh-India electricity trade. And going ahead, we are again building on these earlier studies. We will be doing this new study in which we are trying to study the implication of solar, wind, and renewable and storage technologies cost decline on the regional power trade. Now, before going into the Bangladesh models results, the key assumption that we have taken, I would just like to show you the kind of cost declines that we have observed in the past and expected in future for RE and storage technologies. If I talk about the solar photovoltaic technology, from 2010 to 2018, already there has been a decline of more than 74%. And as per different international organizations such as Fraunhofer, NREL, ETRI, and IRENA, this is further going to reduce in future, and it could reduce in the range of 44 to 75% by 2050 compared to 2018 values. So still there is a huge scope of cost reduction for solar PV. Similarly, if I talk about solar concentrated solar power, the CSP, there is also expected to be a significant reduction. The actual reduction from 2010 to 2018 has been around 41%. We see different kinks in the cost decline because the solar CSP has not been, the number of projects for solar CSP has not been that much high, and the limited number of projects have implication because of the labor intensiveness, the variation in thermal storage technology, and also the location of the project. However, still, as per different international organizations, there is a scope of cost reduction in solar CSP, and it could range up to from 25% to 62% compared to the 2018 values. So again, here, there is a huge scope of cost reduction in CSP technologies also. Although the CSP technology is still not commercially viable in Indian and Bangladesh geographies. We have not found some solid case for that as of now. Now, if I talk about the onshore wind power technologies, again, the solid black line shows you the actual cost decline from 2010 to 2018. We have seen around 22% cost decline in the solar wind onshore technology. Although not too high cost decline is expected in future because it is considered as a mature technology, but still we can expect around 30% of cost decline in wind onshore technologies, according to different international organizations. Now, if I talk about wind offshore technologies, the current cost decline from 2010 to 18 has been around, it's actually a kind of increase in the cost, not decline, because the number of projects are very limited and very limited countries are implementing those projects. And with the increase in economies of scale, we expect that cost is going to reduce. And there is a possibility of up to 76% of cost decline in the wind offshore technologies. Now, one of the very important storage technology is the lithium-ion battery energy storage. The cost here is shown about the possible reduction. The current cost is something around between 2,000 to 2,200 US dollar per kilowatt hour for a 4 hours battery energy storage of lithium ion, and the costs are expected to decline in the range of 47 to 84% by 2050 as per different international organizations. So there is a potential of huge cost decline, and with storage costs declining, they can actually make a lot of changes in the power system we think today. So a lot of things can change with these kind of cost decline in the renewable and storage technologies. Now, I will speaking about the Bangladesh electricity model that we have developed earlier. So for this project, we have updated that model with different scenarios and also with different data available from different organizations in Bangladesh. The new plans of the government of Bangladesh, we have tried to update that. And in this presentation, I'm only going to show you the results of the Bangladesh electricity model. We are still working on the India power system model. And once that is done, we will integrate the whole system and we will run the system together of all the countries. and then we are going to come back again to you to show you the integrated result. So today I will be speaking about the Bangladesh electricity model results. Now, before I go into the key assumption, I would like to tell you something about the background about the Bangladesh power system. I have added this slide because we have some audience from countries like Nepal and Bhutan who might not be familiar with these things. So if I talk about the Bangladesh power system, it's basically a gas and oil-based system wherein 95% of the installed capacity is based on gas and oil. Similarly, in the generation also, gas and oil-based generation contribute to more around 90% of the generation. And power import, that is the import of electricity by Bangladesh from India, is also contribute around 10% of the total electricity availability. So this is a huge share if I talk about the imports of electricity. Now, the model that we use for developing Bangladesh electricity model is the TIMES model generator. TIMES stands for the Integrated Markle EFORM system developed by the International Energy Agency under its Energy Technology and System Analysis program. The Markle stands for Market Allocation and EFORM stands for Energy Flow Optimization Model. So if I talk about the key attributes of the TIMES model, it combines both the technical as well as the economic approach. It's a bottom-up model generator, which has the potential to do multi-region optimization. So that's why we have chosen this system of model, so that we can do multi-region optimization in which we will have the power system of Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Bhutan, and then we see how the regional power can happen, the kind of trade that can happen, not just at annual level, but at monthly level and also at hourly level. So I'm going to show you some slide about how the hourly system happens, hourly demand supply is matched in the system. This system is also capable of optimizing over medium to long-term time horizon. Now, if I talk about the objective function of the TIMES model, so it minimizes the total discounting system cost, and for each year, the costs include the capital cost, the O&M cost, the exogenous imports, the domestic resource production, the exogenous exports, the delivery cost of commodities, and all those things it accounts while calculating the optimal solution. Now I will start talking about the key components that we assume for Bangladesh electricity model. The base year for the model is 2015. The discount rate we have assumed is 7.7%. That is the real discount rate that we calculated. Then the model horizon is between 2015 to 2045. And the electricity demand for 2014-15 is taken as 40 billion units at the consumption end. The reference energy system, the base of the system model, includes the existing generation resources as well as the upcoming generation resources such as thermal power plant of coal, gas, oil, then hydropower plants, renewable technologies such as solar, wind, and biomass, and also the storage technologies we have modeled. As of now, we are running the standalone model, and Bangladesh already had a lot of flexible generation resources like gas and oil. So the model has not picked up a lot of storage. But when we integrate, we expect that a lot of storage will be picked up with a lot of renewable being pushed. So this is the reference energy system, which consider all the current features of the Bangladesh power system. One of the key important assumption of any electricity model is the electricity demand. And we have taken the electricity demand for Bangladesh power system from the revisiting PSMP 2016 that has been launched in November 2018. And for the system, we have assumed the base scenario as of now. And we observe that all the scenarios have similar GDP growth in the range of 8 to 10%. So for the current system, for the current run and the current scenario, we have assumed the base demand. Now, after we have ascertained the demand, we have to know how the demand varies over each month and also in each hour. So we have taken the Bangladesh load curve of 2019. We have taken this data from the daily reports of the Power Grid Corporation of Bangladesh. And we have seen that the typical high demand months are the July, August, and September. And the low demand months are the November, December, and January. So this load curve of 2019 has been feeding into the system. and this load curve is replicated, the pattern of demand is replicated for all the future years. Now, this slide shows the key technical and economic assumptions that we have feeded into the power system model for all the different technologies such as gas, open cycle, combined cycle, oil plants, dual fuel plants, nuclear plants, coal power plants such as subcritical, supercritical, and ultra supercritical power plants. So we have taken these cost from one of the research journal that we published in the International Energy Journal. And we have assumed that no subcritical coal-based power plants will be established after 2018. I'm talking about the new subcritical plant. The plants which are already in construction will be there or will be put up by the model. Now, from the BPDP annual report, we found that between 2019 to 2023, these are some of the power generation technologies that are going to come up in future. So we have taken account of this, and we observe that the majority of the capacity addition are going to come up from the gas and coal-based technologies between 2019 to 23. If I talk about the coal-based power plant, apart from what is there in the BPDP annual report, we have also looked at the annual reports of the Coal Power Generation Corporation of Bangladesh, and we have taken also looked at the previous PSMP reports, and we have considered all these coal-based power plants to be added into the model. Now, if I talk about the technology-wise segregation, we get this kind of split on subcritical, supercritical, and ultra supercritical coal-based power plant. We observe that majority of the future coal-based power technologies will be coming up in the ultra supercritical domain. Now, these are some of the key assumptions. We have for coal-based power plant, we have assumed that under construction plants are fixed point; they are bound to be installed by the model. And then the other plants which are under planning are left to the model to decide based on the optimal solution. We have capped the coal-based electricity generation at 35% of the total electricity availability by 2040, based on one of the critical assumptions of the PSMP scenarios. For nuclear-based power plant capacity addition, we have considered the bound based on the high case of the PSMP. Then also for hydro-based power plants, we have not assumed any new hydro-based power plant. Only we have modeled the existing 230 megawatt Katpai hydropower plant. And the generation pattern for that power plant, we have assumed based on the past performance from 2015 to 2019. And the average monthly PLFs has been modeled into the system. And the typical high generation months are again August, September, and October. For renewable energy side, we have assumed the renewable energy potential of solar potential as 2.6 gigawatt, wind potential of 0.6 gigawatt, and biomass potential of 0.2 gigawatt. So overall potential of around 3.6 gigawatt. We would like to request the panelists to share your views on these potential assumptions, whether we are taking too optimistic or too pessimistic assumptions. Whether we can have a higher renewable potential in Bangladesh. Then for solar PV technologies, we assume the potential to be 2.6 gigawatt, a plant life of 25 years. The average capex in 2015 was $1,551 US per kilowatt. And we assume that these cost technology will decline as per the different scenarios, low, medium, and high. And based on these scenarios, the cost by 2050 is provided in the table on your website. Similarly, we have also calculated the levelized cost of electricity for different interest rate of 7.7% and 2%. We have specially calculated for 2% because we believe that in future, the rate of interest for renewable technologies is going to go down because all the government and international community are trying to push renewable. And one of the way of doing that is reducing the interest rates for that technology. And that's why we see the levelized cost is quite low for solar technologies. The hourly PLF for solar plants, we have taken that from the Renewable Ninja dataset that consider the solar irradiation data. And these are the solar generation variation over different months and different hours of each one. So we have feeded this plant availabilities into the model. Now for wind potential and assumption, we have assumed a wind potential of 0.6 gigawatt and also plant life of 25 years. The capex we have assumed is 1813 in 2015, and we have assumed that it is going to reduce over the year under low, medium, and high scenario. And based on that, we have also calculated the LCOE. We found that the LCOE of wind is going to be quite high compared to the solar one, as I showed in the previous slide. I will also tell you one of the implication of this in the coming slides. Now, these are the variations of monthly variation of wind power plants for different hours in each one. Again, this data has been taken from the Renewable Ninja datasets. Now, the fuel price projections, we have taken most of the fuel price projection from PSMP. But one of the critical thing that we have undertaken is that we studied the gas master plan, and we observed that a lot of gas going into the power sector is highly subsidized. But going in future, as the gas resources are dwindling, we expect that there is a lot of capex is required for new fields, gas fields for exploration and development. So going ahead, as suggested in the gas master plan, the domestic gas price is going to converge with the imported gas price. So we have assumed that thing, that by 2025, the domestic gas price and the imported gas price will converge. The gas availability, we have again considered from the gas master plan of 2017. And for the current scenario, we have considered the case B. And we have assumed that from the total gas available in the Bangladesh, around 41% will be available to the power sector based on the past share from 2014 to 2020. Now, if I talk about the coal production and coal availability, we have taken it from the PSMP scenario, and we have assumed the base case for the Bangladesh electricity model. And we have assumed that 67% of the coal is available for the power sector based on the past availability to the power sector from the total domestic coal production. Now, this is about the lithium ion battery technology. We have considered different cost decline. Two and 1 hour battery capacities. Now, on the transmission and distribution side, we observe that Bangladesh already has a very low transmission and distribution loss of around 12% in 2019, which is quite low compared to Indian level of T&D losses. And going ahead, it is going to reduce to around 10%. And by 2030, it will reach 10%. And we have assumed that for rest of the model horizon, it is going to be around 10%. Now, one of the key assumptions is the transmission and distribution asset cost. For the transmission system, we have assumed the cost of $319 million per gigawatt and distribution system at $363 million per gigawatt. This we have calculated based on the investment cost projection under the revisiting PSMP 2016 published in November 2018. The cost that has been provided in there, we have taken this assumption based on those numbers. Then we have also taken some assumption on the asset life as 25 years and transmission system availability of 98%, distribution system availability of 95%, and O&M cost as 1% and 3% for transmission and distribution system respectively. Now, this is the overall summary of common assumption for the model scenarios, as I explained previously. Now, we have assumed two scenarios here for the Bangladesh electricity model. One is when we are exogenously assuming a import price of 5 taka per kilowatt hour, and another is a import price of 10 taka per kilowatt hour. So we are trying to see how the model, power system develops in a long term when the import prices changes. Just a disclaimer: I have not capped any generation here except for the coal generation of capped at 35% by 2040 for the total availability. The rest, all the generation like the gas generation and hydro generation, the RE generation, their share is free, they are not capped. And also the import share is not capped, it is free. So I will just show you the results. And let me just again clarify one more thing. The import prices are exogenously assumed, and they are going to change once we integrate the Bangladesh system with the rest of the other country system like India, Nepal, Bhutan. Then the export trade price is endogenously determined by the model itself. So for running the standalone Bangladesh model, I have given this as an exogenous. So one of the first key impact that we see on the domestic installed capacity is that if the import price is high, that is around 10 taka per kilowatt hour, everything is developed within Bangladesh. Like all the capacities and everything is developed because now the model does not find suitable to import electricity and it develops domestic capacities. I will show you how the capacity splits happens in the coming slides. And if the export price is too low, that is around 5 taka per kilowatt hour, then the model prefers to import everything and a very less domestic capacity is developed. That we can see in the graph, like by 2045, in the high import price, around 81 gigawatt of domestic capacity is installed. And in a low import price, around only 14 gigawatt of domestic capacity is installed. Now, this is the domestic capacity split. In a high import price scenario, we observe that a major focus is given by the model on the gas-based capacity and coal-based capacity. And in a low price scenario, again, the split differs. Now, one of the key important thing here is that during both the scenario, the solar potential is fully utilized. So whatever solar potential of 2.6 gigawatt I am giving, the model is utilizing that. So if we can assume a scenario where a high RE potential is there in Bangladesh, then I believe model is going to utilize that because the cost of solar are expected to reduce drastically. Whereas if I talk about the wind potential, it is only utilized in the high import scenario. Now again, the high installed capacity will have a high domestic generation mix. So in the low import scenario, what we observe is low price of import scenario. What we observe is that around 85% of the demand is met through imports because the model find it optimal to import everything rather installing in the Bangladesh system. And for a high import price, we observe that only 7% of the demand is met through imports, and which leads to almost 7 times increase in generation. And the import volumes increase around 12 times in the low import price scenario compared to a high import price scenario. Again, I would like to share that we have not bounded the import volumes, and we understand that each country has a energy security in mind, and it would like to have some capping on the import volumes or dependence on other countries. And that's why we would like to know what kind of the Bangladesh stakeholders think about this thing. Like, will it be 15% only, or it can go to 30%, or it can go to 50%? Now, again, on the fuel consumption, since the domestic installed capacity is low, so the consumption of fuel will be low in the low import price scenario. But in a high import scenario, it is going to be high, majorly on the coal and gas. Focus will be on coal and gas. Now, I was talking about the hourly feature of the model that it solves at each hour. So this graph is for 2030 for full year graph at a 5 taka per kilowatt hour import scenario, that is a low import price. And we see that for each hour in April, May, June, all the months, for each hour the model solves and see what is the kind of potential of electricity imports. The solid line, the orange line is the electricity demand, and the blue bars are the electricity imports. I will just give you an example for the September month, which is a high demand month. So what is happening is that when the demand is low, the volume of import is low. When the demand is high, the volume of import will be high. And the intermediate things is met through the domestic generation. So these are the model capabilities to solve at each hour for a typical day of each month for a full year. And this is the import duration curves that during a low import price scenario, the volume of import is going to be very, very high. And for a 2030 case, during the low import scenario, for throughout the year, our minimum import of 10 gigawatt is possible in 2030. and around 40 gigawatt of minimum import throughout the year is possible for 2045 scenario, for the year 2045. And since a lot of import is going to happen, then a lot of transmission capacity is required. And around 81 gigawatt by 2045 is the transmission capacity required in the low import scenario. And similarly, it has implication on the cumulative CapEx requirement for the generation asset requirement. So that's all from my side, and I seek your support in updating our model. If you think there is some assumption that we can improve on, or there is some feedback that you want to share, we'd like to hear from you. And that's what from my side. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Vinay. That was a very detailed presentation. And I hope you all heard the nature of assumptions and nature of data that is all laid out in front of you. And Vinay, you share your PowerPoint with all of them. So in case
yes, ma'am,
they want to consult some other text, other data sources and discuss with some other colleagues, they can have it. So we will share this very soon. And I don't see any questions except one question here, but please feel free to ask him now. The one question is, yeah?
Ma'am, we have a question and answer session after the panel discussion. We will address the questions at that time.
Okay, I thought that you said session 2, so it's a part of session 3 or okay, fine. So
Okay.
I then thank you very much for all of you for joining us, especially all the people in Bangladesh who have been constantly supporting these exercises whenever we go there. And Simon, very, very sincere thanks to you and your group at Energy and Economic Growth. They have been constantly on our side, and anything we just have to say and the problems are solved so quickly. They are, it's an example of grant giving, I must say. And the IRADE staff also have been working for a long time, and I especially thank Mr. Batra and Mr. Agrawal and all IRADE staff, including Justin and Vinay, of course, is leading the project, but many others are helping him. So thank you, all of you. And we now switch to the next session. I'm sorry, I have to go to the doctor at 12, so I must rush off now. Luckily, is nearby. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now we begin with the panel discussion for the day. The session will be chaired by Dr. Kirit Parikh, Chairman IRADE. Dr. Parikh has more than 58 years of experience in energy policy and development sector. He has been the member in charge of Energy at Planning Commission, Government of India, founder director of IGIDR, senior economic advisor, UNDP, and program leader at EASA. And we also have very senior and eminent panelists amongst us. To begin with, Mr. Siddique Zubair. Mr. Zubair has served the government of Bangladesh for 34 years in different capacities and retired in January 20 as Additional Secretary, Member, Sustainable and Renewable Energy Development Authority. We also have amongst us Professor Aminul Haq, who's at present the Vice Chancellor at Eastern University. Professor Haq has more than 44 years of teaching and administrative experience. We also have amongst us Mr. Pankaj Batra, sir, who's currently the Project Director for South Asia Regional Initiative for Energy Integration. He's a thought leader. And last but not the least, Mr. Mohammad Shah Alam. He's at present the Deputy Secretary, Director, Bangladesh Investment Development Authority, Prime Minister's Office since November 2017. He has been closely involved in facilitating and promoting investment projects. So we welcome you all. Over to you, Kirit, sir.
Thank you very much. I think we have, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for coming. And I think Vinay had made a detailed presentation. And I think it raises a number of issues that we need to take into account. And the most important one, I think, is that our whole objective of this project is to see how much change that would be in hydro development and trade trade of electricity, cross-border electricity trade in these countries in South Asia will take place. Our earlier study had shown that there is a significant scope for electricity trade and that it reduces also CO2 emissions. But now things have changed. People are expecting much larger, significant reduction in cost of renewables. And one wonders, would it require more hydro to balance it or less? It also depends on what happens to the battery technology and the cost of it. So I think we have seen a detailed and a very careful presentation, and we have taken all kinds of care to see that data we get as much as possible from sources and from Bangladesh and other places. But now what we would like to understand is that, this is our concern, but we need to get some understanding and feedback of how people and experts in Bangladesh feel about it. So I believe that we will first, in this panel discussion, we will invite people, the panelists are there, and I suggest that since we have a relatively small amount of time, what we should do is to make each panelist make maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes of statement, and then we will discuss among the panelists themselves. Then we can go to the question answer session. So may I now request Mr. Siddiqui Zubair, expert on energy, environment, and climate change, and ex-additional secretary and member SREDS REDA. So, Mr. Siddiqui Zubair, Mr. Zubair, please, 5 minutes.
Sir, we can't hear you, sir. You need to unmute your mic, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be the part of this webinar. Thank you very much for the organizer for inviting me in this very high level webinar that we are discussing today. To tackle the vast climate vulnerability and also to take care of the health that concern, it is indeed a most important issue to ensure the sustainable supply of energy and economic development. And you know that Bangladesh envisioned to be the high income country by 2041. According to the separate report, there is a potential of Bangladesh to be the 28th among the world's most powerful economy by 2030 and 23rd larger economy of the world by 2050, with a gross domestic product of $3.064 trillion by purchasing power parity. So economic development is also rapidly taking place, as the actual GDP growth rate in 2016-17 was 7.1% compared to the average 6% GDP growth rate used in the Power System Master Plan that we are talking about, that Power System Master Plan 2016. Along with this, rapid industrialization and population growth is also forecasted here. In its current economic state, the Bangladesh economy will at least require an average of GDP growth rate of 9% during the period of 2021-24 to achieve these and be on track for the 2041 vision. Bangladesh will require an increased power generation. The Bangladesh power demand is also expected to increase by 61,641 megawatt in the 2041 base case scenario forecasted, with applied energy efficiency and conservation measures. So the production volume of domestic natural gas is also forecasted to decrease as the amount of deposits discovered is decreasing. This, along with the rapid economic growth, spares the need of Bangladesh to diversify its energy sources. And that's why you see that in the presentation, it mentioned that present generation capacity, almost 95% is the primary energy source is the natural gas and liquid fuel. If you see that few years back in 2007-8, the 98% of our power was generating from the natural gas. So share of natural gas gradually reduces and share of liquid fuel gradually increased. It is because of there was a huge electricity crisis in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, when government allowed the rental power plant to bring quickly the power into the system. So these were the 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years contract to supply the electricity into the system. And that's why the share of liquid fuel increases. But when government prepared the power system master plan 2010, their government mostly focused on the coal as a cost-effective source of fossil fuel. At that time, renewable was not in the priority, though our renewable energy policy was declared in 2008. And subsequently, in 2000 Power System Master Plan 2016, it's a division of 2010 PSMP. There, the share of coal reduces to 35%. From 50%, it reduces to 35%. And share of imported gas, LNG, increases. Okay. Now, with this scenario, the issue has come that since price of renewable energy is increasing, so whether we can integrate a substantial amount of electricity from the renewable energy sources. According to the present power system renewable energy policy, we have to generate 10% of our total electricity from renewable energy sources by 2021. We are, of course, lacking behind of that. But in the, you see in the Delta plan, which was prepared up to the 2100, there it is targeted to generate 30% from the renewable energy sources by 2041. So there the government is trying to increase it. But in the recent past, you know, there are, because of the reduces of the technology price of renewable energies like solar or wind, and also because of the reducing price of the storage, government is start to thinking how to integrate more renewable energy into the system as they planned before. But there are some challenges for renewable energies in Bangladesh, because solar is the most potential source of renewable energy in Bangladesh. Mr. Hossain already said in his opening speech that we do not have much land where we can put the large solar panels, solar parks. So this is one of the challenge. Another challenge is, you know, the difference between the off-peak hour and peak hour is very high in Bangladesh. Our peak is in the evening. So solar generate the power in the daytime where our demand is low, whereas we need more power in the evening when solar is not there. So how we can take care of that? That is one of the issues. Therefore, issues are, number one is the space limitation, number two is the price or cost, number three is the management issue, that how we can integrate more solar. Here what we are talking today, that hydro could be one of the renewable source used as a baseload power stations. So hydro can give some kind of solution through which we can minimize the storage, the battery storage. So if we can develop a regional grid between what you what Mr. The presenter showed, that if we can a regional grid with Nepal, Bhutan, India, and Bangladesh, then hydro could use as a baseload renewable energy source, and other solar and wind could be the intermittent energy would be the periodical energy, but that can be properly, if we can properly design the whole system, regional system, then we might have take care a substantial amount of generation from this. You see, in Nepal, there is a 40,000 megawatt of potentials are there. In Bhutan, there is a 20 to 30,000 megawatt of potentials are there. In India, there is more than 145,000 megawatt potentials are there. So if we keep this hydro as a base load of renewable energy sources, and then integrate the solar and wind according to the potentiality of different countries, then it could be one of the issues. That the one issue that showed in the presentation, that in case of Bangladesh, that if the price is taken as a variable to identify the amount of electricity that imported by Bangladesh. But I like to say that price is not only the considering factor for importing or exporting the electricity, because to ensure the energy security, every country must have a substantial amount of electricity generation